And what got you into psychotherapy in the first place? Was it like through school, where you did art at school, and even back then, did you know that it had like great benefits to you? Was it like feedback in school, or was like, did you have family members or friends that were doing similar sort of things to you? What got you interested in the first place?
No, it's that. Do you know what? I could talk about this all day.
Yeah.
So art has always been there. It's
Mm.
always been there from young.
Yeah.
So I started. So even if we go back to kind of primary school, I started primary school with not knowing a word of English.
Yeah.
I was I never went nursery. My great grandma brought me up, and she spoke to me in Cypriot Greek.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I knew. I ended
Yeah.
up starting primary school, just thinking, what is going on? What are these children talking about? What are the teachers saying to me? I had no, I couldn't say anything up until year one.
Really?
But all I remember was feeling safe near the art. I go to the art, I draw,
Yeah.
I even draw what I want to say. Sometimes hopefully they get it. And obviously later on, I think I was a very shy child, so art materials always came everywhere with me. So any family gathering, event, I had this bag packed, and whenever it felt quite overwhelming, I would go to these art materials and they will instantly ground me. So I knew for me personally, it was always there. I always found the kind of groundedness from the art. And then in secondary school, I took it up as a something's just popped up on my laptop.
That's all right. That's okay.
I took it up for GCSE and then A level. I loved the art studios. Everything about art was it was always around basically. And then I had actually a close family member suffer from depression.
Really?
At the time that I was completing my A levels, and I guess I found that calming element when I was in those art studios and when I was creating art, and when things felt overwhelming at home, and I would bring my kind of art material, my artwork home and share it with that individual, and you could just see kind of the life, like the life back in them, like wanting to know a bit about this art. And depression is so difficult. I mean, they didn't want to leave their beds. I mean, it was so difficult for them, but then being able to see that shift by just looking at someone else's art was when I started thinking, gosh, there must be some form of health benefits to this. Like this is just weird. And then I decided to do it as a degree. But didn't listen to my dad. My dad was like, what are you doing that for? You're never going to make money and all this. Yeah. There's nothing to fall back on. People like us don't do art. Sorry, I've made him sound really high pitched. I did it. I did it as a degree, and on my degree, in my second year of my degree, I noticed something as a module, and it just said art therapy, and I thought, what is that? And then I took it up as a module, and I started learning what I basically knew, like the health benefits, how we can use art to improve our mental health.
Yeah, and when you were learning about the benefits of art, I mean, what kind of facts even shocked you? Like thinking, I didn't even think about that. That's amazing. Like I didn't know that I can help people in such a way. Like what kind of facts did you find out that really shocked you or took you aback?
I guess there's so many, just even thinking about trauma and how trauma is stored in our bodies.
Yeah.
And thinking about, well, how do we access that trauma in a safe way? I mean, a traumatic event, it's so difficult when you're working with a client that's gone through trauma. Like they tend to be, especially if they're in active trauma, they tend to find it really difficult to give you eye contact, to talk about, it's really virtually impossible to go to that place with them. But then noticing them use the art materials and the benefits of using the art materials and using your hands and being creative and going to a place that you don't need to use verbal articulation to go to that place was so interesting for me. I just thought, great, you know, there's something that we don't need to use words. And I've always found it fascinating. I think language is amazing. We all need language, but it's also the creative language. Like there's another way of communicating with each other. It doesn't just need to be words. And sometimes I think I find that words can limit us. And I guess that's when I just thought, wow, this is amazing. Like this is a way that we can all connect, you know, whether English is your second language, whether there's trauma, you know, there's something in the space and in the room with a client that is accessible for us all to use.